We're going to look at rhythm, which is the third part of juggling. And when I talk about rhythm in juggling, at least in my world, mostly I'm talking about something that I'm going to call visual rhythm. So sometimes when we think about rhythm, we can think that it's about sound, and we're going to make sounds with our juggling. And in fact, we're going to do that a little bit when we work on this. But that's only in preparation to make more of a visual rhythm, is what I mean. So that there's a relationship of the objects in the air, like we talked about in the object category of my 3 parts of juggling: objects, body, and rhythm. And in that way, the objects don't make a sound. It's more that you see the objects and there is some sort of design and there is some sort of pattern and a rhythm in the air, or a rhythm in the visuals of the image that I'm making with the objects. But as well, remember, I think that rhythm is the most important part of juggling. It's the way that the objects and the body interact with each other. And so, therefore, we're going to do a little bit of a warm-up, a little exercise before we get to the real work with rhythm, but just a little bit something to prepare our minds and to get used to counting and some other parts that are important for working with rhythm. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a pattern of numbers and organize juggling according to this pattern of numbers. Normally, we think about numbers in juggling these days as sight swaps, and there it tells a very specific pattern. But what we're going to do now is really open-ended. Sight swaps is very specific. You need a lot of rules to make it work. At least you need a steady rhythm, and you need to have a little bit of math to make sure that the objects don't collide in the air. But we're not doing anything like that with our numbers today. What we're going to do is take some numbers and organize them in a certain pattern, which could be anything in the world, but we're going to do a specific pattern. And then we're going to organize juggling according to that pattern, which again could be interpreted in many different ways. So what we're about to do, you could take a different pattern of numbers and you could take a different meaning of those numbers. But that's also why I really like this exercise, because it's really wide open. It's whatever you want to do with it. But for now, what we're going to do is take a pattern of numbers that count up from 1 to 6, and they go in the shape of a pyramid, because it also counts back down. And it's much easier if I draw it for you than try to say it. But what we're going to do is the pattern of numbers looks like this. We have a 1, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 is, we're going to stop there for now. But now we're going to count back down, so we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. So we get this kind of pyramid shape here. And again, this pattern or order of numbers could be anything in the world. You could stick counting up to 6 and counting back down to 1 again, and arrange the numbers in a different shape or a different order. It's okay. But for now, we're just going to stick with this and see what happens. So the next thing I'm going to say is, now that we have this pattern of numbers, is that on the top of each step, we're going to do something. It means that on the top of each step, if we start with the first step, it's already the top, right there, because there's no more numbers above it. So I'm going to do something there, I'm going to do something there, I'm going to do something there, and so on. And again, the same when we go back down. At the top of each level, I'm going to do something. So I'm going to do something here. And again, just to point out, I know this sounds stupid, but just to say, I could have said that we're going to do something in a very different fashion. I could have ordered a different sort of pattern. I could have just made it random and said we're going to randomly do things and then circled a bunch of numbers, right? So everything's open to interpretation, but for now, we're going to do things, we're going to do something on the top of each step. So what's that thing going to be? Well, I'm going to say that on the top of each step, for now, we're going to do a change. We're going to change something. And in order to change something, you have to have a starting point to change from. So our starting point is, let's just take the most simple thing we can do with 3 balls, we'll do the cascade. So this will be the starting point, and then the change, or when we do something, it's just going to be a higher throw. So we can say that this is the normal thing, and when I do the change, I'm going to go like that. That's all. And if I change all the time, then I'm going to juggle like this. So now that I've defined my pattern, I've defined when there's going to be something happening, and I've kind of defined very clearly then what that thing is going to be. So if I'm going to do the change on the top of each step, it means, again, the change is in relationship to something that's already happening. And I said the thing that we're starting with, the base pattern, is going to be the cascade. So now I'm going to say that we're going to just count every single throw. So every single throw that I do with my juggling is going to relate to one of the numbers here on our system that we've created. And it means then, if I start counting throws, the first throw is already the change, right? Because there's no other numbers below it. It means it's the top of the step, so the change already happens on the first throw, which obviously means, since I'm going to count every single throw, I don't start from here and then count 1, right? Because I'm counting every single throw. It was a rule that we set. It means that my first throw then will be the change, which is a little bit higher, so that's a 1. And then my next throw after the high throw is going to be a normal throw, and then a high throw. So now you can also go back over this pattern of numbers and start to say high, low, or normal, high, or normal, change, whatever. So it's going to go high, low, high, low, high, low, high, etc. So it looks like this. We're going to go 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. and then back down. But let's try that first before we start to talk about the back down. So just try up to 6 and see if you can figure out how to go back down to 1 again with 3 balls. Go for that. Let's take the same thing we did when we had the high throw on the top. Now we're doing low throw on top. But again, when we get to the higher numbers like 5 and 6 or even 4, you have a lot of time to think, especially when we're doing high throws as a base pattern, right? When I'm doing all the throws all the way up to 6, it's really like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yes, 6 is low. Like, you have so much time to think. So again, really now, the challenging part is just this point here where you're looping. So let's just go up to 3 and back down. The same thing we did with the high throw on top. And then we're just going to loop up again, up to 3, down, back up to 3, down, back up to 3. And that's going to look like this. So we have 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And again, it's really tricky mentally. Don't add too many ones there with the low throw. But there are going to be 2 low throws in a row, right? Because look, when we're counting down, we have high, low, and the next one is low. So you do have 2 low cascade throws, but don't do a third one. It's really, your natural habit is just to do an extra one there, I think almost unconsciously. So really keep track of every throw on every single beat, on every single number. Don't add extra throws in. And you'll see that there are 2 low throws, but the next one is high. Alright, so try that out. Low throw on top, up to 3 and back down. Again, the pattern of numbers we're using could be anything. This was a very arbitrary choice. I could have counted up to 100 and I could have made it in a different sort of shape. I could have said that these events happen on different places, and we can obviously change then what these events are. So far, we've swapped around high throws on the top of each step to low throws on the top of each step. But now, to show that this can be, of course, infinitely flexible, let's just take what we've done so far and work with that. And that means when we're going to go up, let's do high throws on top. And when we go down, let's do low throws on top. It means halfway through we're going to switch. And again, when we loop this pattern, it means we're going to take the last beat and overlap it with the first one. So actually, we're going to start from here. We're going to get rid of that first one, because it's going to loop. It's going to loop from there, back up again. So from here, we have a low throw and then a high throw, because we're doing high throws on top when we go up. And again, as ever, the challenging part is when you come back down and go back up again. So let's look really fast at that here on the board, and then I'll juggle it. It means when we're coming down, we're doing low throws on top. So our base pattern is high. So here we have this throw right here is going to be a high throw, and then we do a low throw, a low throw, because we're doing low throws on the top of each step. But then we're going to start again, and remember we're looping, so we lost that first beat right there. And it means the next one's also low, because we're doing high throws going up, and the bass pattern there is low, and then a high. So we have 3 low throws in a row. So it's going to go high throw, and then low, 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 and then high again. But I'll juggle the whole thing, and you can see that transition. You can see the transition when we go from here, from high throws to low throws, and then you'll see the transition here when we start to count back up. This transition here at the top is much easier because we're using high throws, and high throws give you a lot more time to think. Again, using the system that we're interpreting in real time. But here, when we do the low throws, and we're going to go back up, it's much faster and harder to remember. So here's the whole pattern. We're going to do high throws on top when we go up and low throws going down. For now, I'm just going to start here, but remember it's low throw going down, and it's the last beat, it's already low. So normally when we're doing high throws going up, it'd be a high throw, it's going to be a low throw now. Well, hopefully it's easier to understand when I juggle it than to talk about it. But so we have 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Right? So that throw here at the top, it's really easy because you just did a high throw, and the next throws you're going to do are high throws as well. This idea that we're getting rid of that first beat, and that we're taking the last beat and putting it there so that the whole pattern loops, that's also a random choice that I made. It's a decision I made. It could have an extra beat there. We could complete the entire pyramid and then just put an exact pyramid next to it and say that, oh, you just do the end of that one and the start of the next one for no reason other than that we want to. But this idea of losing one of the beats and keeping the ending beat and replacing it there so that the whole thing naturally loops is something we're going to talk a lot about later, so I wanted to start introducing that idea now. But let's try it out. Up to 6 and back down, high throws on top, low throws going back down. Let's do the same thing we've done with all the other exercises with this, and instead of going up to 6, let's just go to 3. And this gets really confusing now, at least for me. So if I try to show what that looks like, high throws going up, low throws going down, but only up to 3, and looping that, it's going to go 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. Like that. Yeah, was it right? I think it was right. It's right, do that. Remember, what we're doing now is just a warm-up for working with rhythm later on. But what it's really good for is helping us keep track of all of our throws. We really have to pay attention to each and every throw. And again, with juggling, at least how I learned, it was really easy for us just to start to juggle, and this was kind of the default. And this would just be going on in the background. And when I would start to try a new trick, then I would have to start to pay attention to it. Okay, behind the back. Okay, the next throw. Which one is that? And then, yeah, it's that one. And then it becomes conscious. The throws become conscious. But before that, it's very unconscious. And I think this work makes every single throw, you have to think about it, at least a little bit at some point. But again, these choices of doing high throws and low throws, it's just random. I've seen patterns like this used, for example, with club passing. So we could say that each step on the top of each level is a pass, and that the other throws are self throws. So for example, if I was going to pass clubs with you, I could say 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. I've also seen a club passing game where you do this kind of idea, but the pattern of numbers is random. So it means the first person, if we're going to pass clubs, I'll say, 3, and then you say, good, and we just go 1, 2, 3, but before we say 3, you have to say a number, so you would say 4, and then we'd start from the beginning, and it would loop like that, and by the time we're done with 4, I have to say a new number, so then it would be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and by the time that I say a new number, 3 again, or 2, or 10, and you end up, so you see how many numbers in a row you can remember and pass on the right time. All these things are just developing your memory in the moment, and developing these systems that are kind of, in one way, automated. So let's look at some other actions. We're not going to do club passing, but let's take, again, a normal, let's establish what is normal. And so for now, let's say the normal thing would just be the 3-ball cascade. But let's take another action. Let's take, on the top of each step, instead of doing a high throw or a low throw, let's take a step with our foot. And again, sure, when you step with your feet, it makes a noise, and we're talking about rhythm, and I think your instinct is that, oh yeah, we're going to make some rhythm now. Yeah, you're going to make some rhythm by accident, but that's not the point, and the rhythm's not going to be that interesting, but it will help us for sure. All we're doing is we're stepping to move our body through space. It's the same thing when we worked with one ball in our body earlier, and we were throwing the ball and pointing and moving the head. And remember, we had different parts of the body that we were moving when we threw the ball. It's the same thing now. It just means when we throw, we're gonna move our bodies. So again, the default pattern is going to be a cascade, and the change or the different thing is going to be a step. So the very first thing we do is the change. It means a throw and a step together. And that's also something to kind of work out, because what do we mean a throw and a step together? First of all, we can say that our basic pattern, the cascade, is probably, again, not with a very short dwell time. This is going to be really hard to step that fast. But we should slow down the pattern. You have a better chance to coordinate your body with the timing of the juggling. So I have a longer dwell time. And what I want to do is, I want to step every time I throw, for example, if I do the change every single time. But in order for that to happen, if I'm already juggling, it's easy for me to... It means when I throw, there's going to be a catch coming in from the ball before it. But the thing is, now we don't have that. We have to do... And there's a little timing there. You can't wait to throw the ball to pick up your foot to put it down. Because I want to have the step on the throw. So I pick my foot up first, up, and then there's the throw, just so that you're on time. And this is really only a technical issue when we start the whole pattern. Because once we start, and if we keep looping it, there's always going to be another ball there to force that throw, and it's going to be much more natural. But this is a little technicality that we sometimes forget, that in order to actually put your foot down, you first have to lift it up. So let's look at this. I'm going to try to juggle from 1 to 6 and back down with stepping on the top of each level. So we have 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. So again, at the end it gets tricky. It goes really fast on the 1, 2, 1. You have to get another 1 in on the next beat. And if you're juggling quite low, it's quite fast. So again, if you go a little bit slower, you can do it easier. And if you want to, already for now, once you get that, because that's quite, easy. It's not that hard. It's more of a mental challenge to just understand, to coordinate your body. In this way, we don't have the high and low throw that we're more used to, I think, with juggling. This whole idea of stepping while you're throwing is not something we naturally do. You don't try to juggle a 7-club cascade on your own and, I'm going to take some steps now. That's something you try not to do, because technically it's harder. But this idea of high and low is something we work more with naturally when we learn to juggle. So the mental idea of this, I think, is much easier than the physical reality in the way when you first try it. But I think you're going to get it pretty quickly, especially, again, when we have all of this, in one way, empty time, when we're all the way up to 6. So I think you can go ahead and try this, and already from the beginning, once you understand it a couple times, we can just try to go up to 3 and back down, and that's going to look like this. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. So you can already try in this time to just go up to 3 and back down, once you understand it a couple times up to 6. So try that out. Stepping forward on the top of each level. A lot of times people ask, which hand should I start with? Is it the right hand or the left hand? And then if I start with my right hand, is it the right foot that starts or the left foot that starts walking? And yeah, there's no rules. We haven't set that yet. We've only established a pattern of numbers. We've only established when certain events happen within that pattern. We've only established what the base pattern is and what the change is. We haven't said any more information about that. If you want to be more specific, you certainly can. You may have noticed when we did before the high throws on the top of each step that when you actually loop, it's starting on the other side, we say with juggling. It means it's starting, the pattern starts again in the other hand. In the way that here, if I throw the first throw, high throw with my left hand, when I loop it, the next throw is going to be with my right hand. So in fact, you have to do twice through the pattern before it returns to the beginning. Again, if we kind of talk some sort of normal juggling language about things like that. But for now, it doesn't matter. We're only stepping when we throw. It's the only rules. I don't care if it's right or left, or right with the left, or the opposite with the other foot. It doesn't matter. Whatever's natural for you, whatever gets you through it for now. And in fact, that's going to become more important what we're going to do now, with what we're going to do now, because when we're counting up, we're going to step forward, and when we're counting down, we're just going to step backwards. Not such a big deal, but we have to just define, especially on the change of the 6, and again on the 1 here, what are we talking about stepping? And sometimes people get confused about this, because we're talking about forwards and backwards. So really fast, I just want to show, when you step on the 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I step forward. Then you have 2 choices, and I don't care what you do. The next step has to be backwards on 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. You can either go like this, 5. So you just step forward on 6 and back on 5. Or what I personally like to do is I define a step as a change of weight to the other foot. That's just personally how it seems to work more naturally for me. So it means when I step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll just change my weight to the other foot. Somehow in my brain it makes more sense to alternate feet than to think that I step forward there and then back with the same foot. But it doesn't matter at all. And also there's something about the organization of the hands and the feet for me that makes my choice natural for my body and my brain, I guess. But let's look at that really fast. I'm going to show stepping forward up to 6 and backwards down from 6. So we have 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, like that. And you'll notice then, when I do go back down to 1 and back up, again, I'm changing my foot. I'm changing from one foot to the other foot. But you could obviously very easily go 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, and have that same foot just go like that, the same way as you go on 5, 6, 6, 5. But for me, I just like to change the feet, so then when I come back, I just take the other foot. I take the weight to the other foot, but it's up to you. And again, once you experience that a few times up to 6, I think it's pretty clear what the concept is. At least in practice, it's a different thing, but mentally, I think you'll figure that out. So then, the real challenge or the tough one is just up to 3 and back down to 3, like we've been doing with all the other exercises. And just to say, this idea of only stopping at 3, we could also do the exact same work stopping at 2. But for me, 2 was a little bit too short to be so challenging. It was such a short loop that I could pretty much figure out in one way what the balls were doing and kind of memorize the pattern without using the system. And 3 was just long enough that I couldn't exactly figure out every single ball, and I still had to count all the numbers. And 4, again, was a little bit too long. I have 3 throws here before I do the change. It was quite a long time to think in one way. So 3 was a good level to keep it mentally, challenging and still using the system without memorizing the pattern. But I can try to show you walking forward up to 3 and then backwards down and just looping that. So that's going to look like this. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Like that. And then you have this little rhythm dance thing. But we're not focusing on the sound, it's more just about the action in relationship to the juggling, a little bit like we did with the body and the one ball work earlier. So try that out. Up to 6, go forward and then backwards down to 1, and once that's comfortable, just try up to 3 and down again, forward and backwards with the steps. Some advice for what we were just trying to do, which was this, again, counting up to 3 and back down, stepping forward, up and backwards, going back down to 1. One thing you could even try as an exercise, which we didn't try at the beginning, because again, at the beginning, we have this idea that the cascade is a default state that we're just kind of always in. And then we're going to start to put something on top of this, but it's not actually a default state. For now, I'm going to say that the basic state you can be in is just neutral, nothing is happening. And then when there's an action, it's coordinated, and now we're coordinating it with this pattern of numbers. But what you could have tried from the beginning and what you could try now, which might help you out as a little exercise, is just a step on every throw. In the same way when we were doing high and low throws as the base pattern, first we had this as the base, and then we had high throws as the base. We're all pretty familiar with doing high throws all the time, one after the other. But maybe we're not so familiar, if you've never tried it before, to step on every single throw. So that could be a good exercise to help you figure out this up to 3 and back down to 1 again. So you just have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, like that. That might be a nice technical exercise for you if you've never tried it before. And as well, one thing you'll notice that every time I juggle, every time I show you something, I'm always in a consistent rhythm. Maybe my rhythm isn't the same every time, but I'm not changing rhythm inside of that. So when I show you 1, 1, 1, 1, I'm not shifting rhythms, tempos, or times inside the pattern. And that's really easy to do when you're trying to think about this 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, that sometimes you can go 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That those extra easy throws kind of speed up because they're almost unconscious and it's not the hard part of it. So 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. We kind of think with our hands, we think with our body, and we have to disconnect that. The body has to keep going on its own in a consistent rhythm, and then we have to have our mental process parallel to that. But we don't want to have our thinking enter into the physicality of our juggling, because then it starts to affect things in maybe a way that we don't want. Let's keep stepping when we throw, so we're going to keep working on that kind of technique. But let's organize it in a different way, and we're going to look at another idea of rhythm. So for now, we're going to get rid of this system of numbers that we've been using. We don't have this anymore for now. So this is called triplets inside of juggling, and with triplets, what we're going to do is we're going to juggle in 3 beats, and we're going to step every 4 beats. So for now, we're going to use the pattern 4-4-1, because in 4-4-1 we have 3 different throws before it loops. So we have the one that we can tell, when the next cycle is coming. So we have 3 throws, and it means we're going to count those 1, 2, 3. And then what we're going to do is we're going to step on every 4th beat, which means it's going to cycle through these 3 beats. If I look at this here, we have and here, these are the 4-4-1s, right? So we have, this is all 4-4-1. It means on the first set of 4-4-1, we're going to step on the 1. And then I'm going to count over, we have those 3 beats there, but we're stepping every 4 beats. It means on the second 4-4-1, we're going to step on the 2. And then on the next 4-4-1, again we count over 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, and the 4th beat is the 3. And here at the end, we're counting over 4 beats, remember. So I count 1, 2, 3, and the 4th beat is actually the next one of the next 4-4-1. It means that this one here, we don't step at all. So on the first 4-4-1, we're going to step 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that last set of 4-4-1, it's for nothing. So the juggling with that looks like this. Again, we're going to step on the count, which is when we're going to throw. So I have 4-4-1, It's going to go 4, 4, 1, 4, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's my 4, 4, 1. And then with the steps, it's going to look like this. And again, we have that same starting problem as we had before when we were just doing the cascade with the pyramid numbers up to 6 and back down. How do you start? So I'm going to start with the first 4, 4, 1. And the first throw of the first 4, 4, 1 is the first step as well. So I have to go 4, 4, 1. So I have that 4 and the foot. So I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm stepping every 4 beats. I'm juggling every 3 beats. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? So try that out. It's the juggling triplets. Counting in 3 and stepping every 4 beats. Go ahead and try it with 4, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Looks like that. And what we're doing is we're juggling in counts of 3, but we're stepping every 4th beat. And of course, you totally could count 4, 4, 1 in 4 beats. If you wanted to, you could count like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So you can cheat in that way, but the cheating doesn't really do you much good. This is just some exercise with rhythm, so it's the mental process connected with your physical action that's valuable. In terms of stepping forward by you doing 4, 4, 1, I don't personally find much value in that. But this idea that you can juggle in 3 and count in 4s with your body, now we're starting to talk about some sort of, in one way, visual rhythm. If you could start to understand that this leg movement of stepping forward could be some other sort of movement, we're going to start to have some contrasting, looping, and phasing rhythms inside of the organization of the movement of what we're doing. Let's look at another pattern that's in 3 beats. Because again, 4, 4, 1, it's in 3 beats, and it does repeat on either side, right? So if I start 4, 4, 1 there, it's going to go 4, 4, 1 back the other way. But it's a little bit, it's almost symmetrical. It's not such a hard pattern to figure out, to loop. And it's not such a hard pattern then to count to 4 instead of only counting to 3. Right? So when I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, I just have to keep juggling on the beat. Of course, that's true with any pattern. You can just count the cascade, especially. You can count 1, 1, 1, 1. You can count 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, it doesn't matter. You can count however you want. Any pattern, of course. But some of them are organized physically and mentally a little bit differently. Let's keep with triplets one more time. We're going to try to do triplets inside of juggling triplets one more time. But instead of using 4, 4, 1, let's take Mills Mess. So Mills Mess has 3 throws that loop but repeat on the other side. So we have 1, 2, 3, right? And then you have the other way. 1, 2, 3. So let's step every 4 beats, and we juggle Mills Mess, which is we're going to count in 3s. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It means you're going to step for every throw, every type of throw in Mills Mess. Right? So if you're going to start with the under the arm throw, that's going to be a step. But on the next time you do the Mills Mess, you're not going to you're not going to step on the under the arm throw. You're going to step on the, you could say what, the backwards, over the top throw, etc. And then don't forget, you're going to have one loop of Mills Mess of 3 throws for nothing. So at the end, just like 4, 4, 1, where we don't step for those 3 throws. It's the same thing for Mills Mess, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Those last 3 throws, I don't step at all. Try same thing. We're going to do triplets stepping on 4, juggling in 3. Mills Mess.